Let's react to Zombie Appreciation Day by Trevor Overload and what he has to say.
Welcome.
Welcome.
This is Zombie Appreciation Day for me. Man, I was thinking about this because back in the day, man, I just loved zombies. I thought this was the
I
coolest
never liked
idea
zombies
ever.
myself.
I thought it was so terrifying. And so I started to get really into it. I started to read books like the Max Brooks books I got. I started to
I remember that
watch
book.
all the movies I could. I started to play all the video games I could. And I got really snobby about it, you know?
Cool
You know how
sound
you do.
effects.
You feel like you know everything, and this is how it should be. Oh, and if I filmed Night of the Living Dead, this is what I would have done. So I
wouldn't
felt
do
just
that. That's
in love
stupid.
with
I would do
zombies,
this
and I
and
wanted to
this.
kind of bring that back and relive that for a second. And I had a buddy named Nixa. I've talked about him before. Shout out! We used to go to his house. He lived, it was kind of like an offshoot where like an attachment to the garage, you know? So we
Not
get
a
to hang out
garage,
there
it's an
while his
attachment
parents
to-
were in their house, and we got to do whatever we want. He had blackout curtains in there and everything. So we'd go over, we'd pressure his mom to buy a Southern Comfort. I don't know how we got on the Southern Comfort, man. I guess because it was kind of like a liquor. I think it's a liqueur, but it was sweet, so it was
Ooh,
palatable,
fancy
you know?
liqueur.
Disgusting. I couldn't drink that shit
Sounds
after
disgusting.
I hung out with Nexa for years. But anyway, we'd pressure his mom to get us that or a couple beers, you know. And we'd sit and we'd play Resident Evil on the GameCube. And we had Resident Evil 2, we had Resident Evil 4, we'd just play whichever ones we could find, you know. So we'd just get lit up, man, and we would start just playing video games, you know. And we would spend hours. I mean, we weren't looking shit up. It wasn't as available as it is now,
Yeah.
you know. We couldn't just punch
You
it
have
into
to
our phone
try.
and find out where to go. So we'd just kind of raw dog it and try to figure out how to beat these games. And we would get stuck beyond imagine. I don't know if it's because we were too dumb. I don't know if it's just because we were fucked up. I don't know. But I remember just being lost all the time, which was fun. That's what it was all about. Just running
That's
in
what it was
circles
about, yeah.
and getting
You
drunk.
do what you can.
Putting in a big old fat dip, spitting into our old beer bottles. Well, we'd be at Nix's little offshoot,
disgusting.
and we'd be playing video games until, 2 in the morning. And we hadn't eaten all day. We're drunk as fuck on Southern Comfort, and we'd get hungry. And he always, in his little freezer in the house, had Totino's pizzas. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They're just little
we
cheap
don't have
pizzas,
those.
little frozen cheap pizzas, you know. He'd always have a couple different kinds, and he'd always have to sneak into his parents' house at around 2 in the morning and start baking these in the ovens. This is how much of a
2 in the
maniac he
morning.
was. He would light up the oven and
Sounds
everything.
normal.
The only problem was he had a little Chihuahua dog named Crystal who would wake up at the drop of the hat, especially if she smelled a stranger, me. So I had to hide. I remember going to take a piss when he was going into the house, and she would catch wind of me and just light it up. Just,
But it's a small dog.
oh my god, dude. Waking
But it's a tiny dog, Chihuahua. How bad can it be?
up everybody in the house while
I
we're
guess it
drunkenly
can be
trying to
pretty
bake
damn bad.
Totino's pizzas. Dude, we'd always get our pizzas. We'd always eat them way too fast and wish we had 4 more each. But dude, how fun was that? We used to
Yeah,
just
good
live it
memories.
up out there. Everything was blacked out, like I said, so it was just as dark as could be. So,
Yeah, and the problems were quite small in that time when you don't think about the bigger pictures of things, or not bigger pictures, but like bigger issues in life. The bigger issue is like where to get some booze or something.
after it's dark and you're spitting chew spit into beer bottles, guess what happened? Yeah, multiple times. Him and me both drank chew spit. Dude, you'd pick up what you thought was your beer
Oh my
and just
goodness.
take a swig, and your mouth fills with warm
Oh boy.
chew spit. That is a feeling and a taste you'll never forget. I don't know
I
how
bet.
he didn't puke, because he didn't chew it at the time. He did later.
One time I had to suck on a gasoline line to get the gasoline coming from the tank, and then I swallowed a bit, and to this day I remember how bad it was.
But he didn't chew at that time, and he put my spit into his mouth. Oh, God, I know. It's absolutely foul. Nixa, I apologize profusely for that, but man, we had a great time. And that made me want to dive into Resident Evil 4 a little more. So I know I brought it up before as one of the best video games I've ever played, and I stand by that. Like I said, I bought it for every console it came out on.
Really?
They just kept adding a little tweak to it, and I would end up buying another copy. So I bought it for GameCube. I bought it for the Wii because I wanted to do it on the Joy-Cons or whatever. I bought it for the PlayStation.
It's like buying those EA
Xbox.
Sports
It came
games
out on everything, and I bought a version
every year
on
you buy a
everything.
new one.
I even bought a version
basically the
on
same game.
PS5 that I have right now that I could go play. I haven't played it all the way through again. I don't know why. Time constraints, probably. Whatever excuse I can throw out there. But when we played it originally, I wasn't a big horror game guy either. I don't like being scared. I didn't like horror movies. I was a bitch. I'm not going to deny it. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But Resident Evil 4, something about that game just... I mean, it was such an incredible experience to play that game. I don't know what it was about it that just did it for me, but everything, I guess. Getting your pistol, shooting farmer zombies as they're speaking Spanish and running at you with pitchforks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was awesome, dude. And then there'd be different enemy types, and then once their heads started exploding and the fucking Las Plagas came out, the guy with the chainsaw, oh my god. When you heard that light up and that chainsaw boy running at you, that was a level of fear that I just hadn't felt in video games before.
Yeah.
It was horrifying.
I remember
just
in the dark room.
meeting him the first time and just running for minutes away from this dude because I'm so scared. Like, what am I going to do? And then when he finally gets you and it just... it was gross and creepy and visceral and real, man. It was so scary. And then figuring out all the strategies, like how to kill him, where to run, what route to take. Being trapped in the village the first time where you have to kill like 40 different guys and a chainsaw guy, but you had to wait for this bell to ring. And oh my god, the fear of trying to get that done, the accomplishment of actually finally doing it, spending all of your ammo, eating chicken eggs, throwing chicken eggs, fucking throwing dynamite and grenades.
Oh, it's so great.
It was unbelievable. You know, you had to really pull out all the stops. It was awesome too. They didn't make it feel like ammo was this unattainable thing. You had opportunities to use all your weapons. And the weapons, bro, the weapons. They gave you so many pistol varieties, so many shotgun varieties, so many different rifle types. You could get magnums, you could get rocket launchers. This game was incredible. You would get pistols, you would get a new pistol in every different area you went. Then you would get a new type of shotgun. You would get one that upgraded you from a to a semi-automatic. It was amazing. You would get sniper rifles that now have scopes. You would get sniper rifles that are also semi-automatic. You could buy grenade launchers before boss fights to help save you. That's what we figured out too. You could save up like 40 grand for these boss fights and then just hit the goddamn boss with one rocket launcher and you would be victorious. And we ended up playing the game so many times that we would impose these little rules on ourselves too. Like, this run, we're only going to use the starting pistol.
Yeah, you start to make your own game within the game. Yeah.
And that's what we would do because you could upgrade these weapons too. And you could upgrade them so far that they had an exclusive upgrade. And so for example, the pistol, you'd get one and it would be able to shoot through 4 different guys. So you're starting over on New Game Plus mode where you already feel like a god because you have all your stuff and it's already upgraded this amount. So you're just mowing down farmers like it's nothing. And we do it with just one gun. And they'd be coming up staircases and then you'd shoot one dude and your bullet would fly through 4 different guys and pop all their heads. You just felt like a king. They made you feel so overpowered in those games. It was so sick. Dude, I remember one for the shotgun. You could get just the normal shotgun. And if you got the exclusive for it, anywhere that you hit a zombie from any distance, it would count as you're being like point blank next to them. You know, so you could be using it like a sniper rifle. They could be across the map 1,000 yards away. You hit them with one pellet, like a whole shotgun blast to the face. It was amazing. The game really did a great job of making you feel overpowered. And that's why we kept playing it just over and over and over. The merchant was awesome. I mean,
thank you.
The stuff you hear in that game, you'd hear the little guys, oh, hello,
Yeah, you get into
Matalo!
the mood of
Everybody
things.
coming at you. Morning STDs. I don't know what they were saying. It was in Spanish, but it sounded like he was saying morning STDs. But it was cool too because you'd go like into different zones. So you'd after you were done destroying this entire village of farmers, you'd go into like this castle, and there were a bunch of cult members, and they were way creepier. They were wearing their cloaks, swinging maces with spikes on them at you, and yeah, they'd be whispering their creepy little stuff.
Yeah, the atmosphere was there definitely.
So you're going through hearing all these whispers and just getting
Even though the
creeped out,
graphics and
getting in
controls
close
and
quarters
whatnot were
with these
not
guys.
great,
They're hitting
but,
you in the
know,
back, and oh, just the fear.
plot and
I
the
mean,
atmosphere.
they weren't keeping ammo away from you. You always had the opportunity. And if you're like me, you hoard everything, right? So we figured out this baller strategy to keep as much ammo as possible. And so what you do is you run up to the guy, you'd shoot him in the leg, which was awesome in this game because it mattered. You'd shoot him in the leg and it would drop these guys to their knees. Then you could run up, whoosh, roundhouse kick these motherfuckers onto their back, get over them with your knife, hi-ya-ya-ya-ya, slice, 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 until they were dead. So we imparted that strategy and would just save all of the ammo. You know, we were never running out.
Yeah.
And then you could get to a boss fight and just unload clips.
Just let it loose.
Dump in clips in the bosses. So man, we would just, that's what kept us interested. That's what kept us doing runs over and over and over. And you know, a lot of the game was an escort mission, you know? Because the whole plot of the game was you had to save the president's daughter. Her name was Ashley. And so she'd come with you a lot of the way. You got to hide her in trash cans and make sure the villagers don't grab her and carry her off. And we were teenagers, you know? She's wearing a short little skirt. We didn't ask what age she was. We just knew what she was wearing. So we'd place her perfectly on the ladders and, you know, try to aim up. But guess what? The game even accounted for that. The devs knew what we were going to do. And so she'd be up there and go, cover herself up. Leon! You know, make you feel like even that much more of a pervert. Oh, God, I remember just with Nixa just being there. How can we place her just perfectly where we can catch a peek of them white panties? So gross. You know, hey, that's being a boy. But, man, Resident Evil, just one of the best video games, and I had to do a big throwback to that. I could talk about that game for a week. I could talk about it on every episode. I love it. But let's move on a little bit. I wanted to ask what you would do in a zombie apocalypse. When I was growing up and I was into the zombies, you're always just...
What I would do? I would go to a remote location, an island or something, I don't know.
Making up scenarios in your head of how you would react, where you would go, what you would do, what you would wear, who you would save. And for me, reading all the books and stuff, it was always like, okay, you got to have chainmail, something they can't bite through, but then you're not accounting for the pressure of the bite that would snap your bones
like
anyway, and all the medicine that you would need. But yeah, where do you go? What do you do? What's your strategy? Obviously, it's never going to happen. It'll happen with AI before it happens with zombies. And by that point, we'll all just be dead because you can't fight a robot. I don't care who you are. But zombies, man, I always thought...
Well, there's Terminator.
Of course, you want to find an underground bunker, but what kind of life is that anyway? It'd be like a Blast from the Past. You remember that movie with Brendan Fraser? Banger! Banger alert. Him and Alicia Silverstone in that, where he's in an underground bunker. So that was kind of what my thought process. Live in something like that, you know, and carry on the rest of your days. But how unbelievably boring. No, you got to be out there. You got to be killing. You got to be finding other people and making up a community. And, of course, you know, I watched The Walking Dead for like 3 seasons or whatever before I got bored of that. I was getting older and I was getting out of all the zombies. It became an oversaturated market. And then it's just, you know.
Yeah, I remember. It was
really
really
stop
popular.
caring so much about it. You know what I think would be awesome is if the internet stayed up and you'd have like TikTok to watch how people are going about killing zombies. With the technology these days, I mean, I saw a dude make like a lightsaber, his own lightsaber. So you'd have people creating all kinds of new zombie killing stuff. And I think that's what would be the funnest thing ever. And hey, maybe if the AI take over, we'll still get to see that anyway. So yeah, I think there's just so many cool creators out there that you'd come across a lot of badass weaponry. I was thinking like some kind of hula hoop thing where it's like around your head with some kind of weaponry.
The Last of Us 2, and there was one of those, or more of those things, that how to kill the zombies. Have to use your imagination.
So you're just at head height chopping zombies' heads off as you're running through. I mean, I have a very bad brain for creativity, but I'm sure I could make up something that would help keep them away and kill them at the same time. Zombies has always been cool. If you don't have a plan, think about a plan. It's kind of fun to do. Then you can share it with me. You know, people are thinking about this shit all the time. It's just a cool idea. What's scarier than, like, your fellow man with no control walking around wanting to eat you and your brain? And then the whole group aspect of it. There's so many chuds out there that are going to get taken out, you know? So many overweight, unhealthy dirtbags that even shambling zombies would catch up to. Because you think a big old 350-pound fool can outwalk a zombie who doesn't have to take breaks? Yeah, it's not going to happen. I never really cared for the running ones because that's a whole new level of fear. I don't want to have to run away from them all. Yeah, I think the walking ones would do enough damage as it is anyway. In preparation for this, I was looking up zombie movies, and there was one called Attack of the Lederhosen Zombies that I attempted to watch. What an absolute piece of shit that was. Like these snowboarders trapped up on a mountain, and then these guys are trying to make fake snow, and it infects a guy and turns them all into zombies. Bro, don't watch it. It was absolute trash. It's like a joke. Like, I don't even know how some of this shit gets made. I really don't understand. It definitely makes you feel like you could be a movie producer, and that's probably what the issue is. Any asshole with a camera can make a movie. Or their own YouTube show. Yeah, I know. What are you gonna do? Anyway, so, yes, there it is. There's my zombie appreciation. I just wanted to have a day for it. It was such a cool thing. It's still cool. Go play Resident Evil 4. You can download the remastered version. If you can find it for GameCube, go do that instead so you can hear the merchant. What are you buying? What are you selling? That's a pretty goddamn good impression. And then, yeah, go watch Shaun of the Dead. And just appreciate the zombies. Appreciate when you found out about zombies and were getting balls deep in them like I was. Because it was cool. And yeah, I have a lot of good memories living in here of all that shit. So, shout out again to Nixa. Shout out to Resident Evil 4. Shout out to zombie movies. And I was going to end with a zombie song, but all I could think of was Zombie by the Cranberries, and I didn't want to change that. So I'm stuck. You're stuck with the one that just popped randomly in my head. I'm like a bird, I'll only fly away. I don't know where my soul is. I don't know where my home is. Okay.
All right.
Oh, I didn't even look up who sings it. I should know that. I'm sorry. So no credit, but I'm sure you know who it is.
I know
one of the most famous songs. We all heard it on the radio growing up. Here's my version, not zombie related, sorry, so not ending on a zombie note, but I'm like a bird who's hella fucking gay. The only seed that I want is from a man bird.
If the YouTube thing doesn't work, you can always go to Idols or whatever they
Why are all my lyric
Voice
changes for gay stuff? I don't know, man.
Well,
I don't know. I don't think that too deep into it. But there you go. That's my show. As always, praise the sun! Catch you next time.
That's fun.